Doge leader Elon Musk visits the Pentagon to reportedly talk about defense cuts, even though some media said the billionaire would be briefed on the country's war plans with China. NewsNation's White House reporter Robert Sherman making the president available and asking questions about cuts to the Department of Defense.
Mr. President, what do you say to American military families who are seeing Elon Musk at the Pentagon today, are hearing about Defense Department cuts, and their thoughts are immediately going to the safety of their loved ones who are currently deployed?
Well, we're making our country strong. And when they see a thing like that and they hear that story about Elon and China, what they should do is realize that the New York Times is a corrupt institution, because I think they're the ones. They knew that story wasn't true. Nobody believed that story. People that, when I first called, they laughed when they heard the story. Nobody believed it, that the Pentagon was giving him a briefing on what war with China would look like, and he has business. No, they made that up because it's a good story to make up. They're very dishonest people. Look, I have it with the Times, and you'll see more and more of it. To me, it's a very, very dishonest organization. But a story like that is made up. It's total fiction. And I just wanted to make sure. I called up Chief of Staff and I called up Pete, and I said, is there any truth to that? Absolutely not. He's there for Doge, not there for China. And if you ever mention China, I think he'd walk out of the room. He wouldn't take it anyway. So it's just a made-up story.
Just a made-up story. NewsNation's Kelly Meyer is following these new developments and joins us live from the White House. Kelly, we heard the president respond there to those charges that Elon would be briefed on situations that many feel he's not qualified for. What was said during the announcement about the military's new fighter jets, Kelly, in addition to Elon Musk, that caught your ear today?
Yeah, so that headline about Elon Musk really taking up a lot of the oxygen in the Oval Office today. As you played there, Robert Sherman inside the Oval Office for NewsNation, pressing the president on what Musk was really there for, at least what we were told he was there for by the White House. And that's with regards to Doge, as well as budget and cuts and setbacks and layoffs at the Department of Defense. So Robert Sherman focused on that specifically in his question and what this means for Americans. But the focus, really, what President Trump was also getting back to, was kind of hitting at the New York Times for their reporting here that they said that Musk was going to be there to get briefed on a potential war plan with China. And I wanted to play a bit of what he had to say when he was initially asked about that in the Oval Office. Take a listen to this.
Anybody read that story? People laughed at that story. Who would do such a thing? And the first thing I did is I called Susie and I called Pete. I said, is there any truth to that? And they said it's ridiculous.
So no truth to that, he says. Elon Musk was only there to talk the budget and Doge efforts. We know the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, just walked by behind us. He did not stop to talk to reporters about what those cuts may look like as maybe potential setbacks there at the Department of Defense, or the question of what it means for our military readiness, as our Robert Sherman touched on there as well. But he had talked about some other issues there inside, from TDA and deportation flights, as well as JFK and the files he released earlier this week there, Nick.
And Kelly, but he also talked about the new F-47. Talk about that new military fighter jet.
Yeah, that was the big topic there today in the Oval Office, why they set up these remarks inside the White House with the Secretary of Defense by the president's side, introducing this new sixth-generation fighter jet. They call it the F-47, a play on the number of Trump in the presidential line there, F-47. He says that these will be state-of-the-art and really just add to the U.S. readiness, a big moment, they said, for the United States and for our military. And I wanted to play a bit more from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, what he had to say about it. Take a listen.
Now we have the F-47, which sends a very direct, clear message to our allies that we're not going anywhere, and to our enemies that we will be able to project power around the globe unimpeded.
Yeah, and President Trump saying this plane flies with drones, as many as we want, something no other plane can do. And Hegseth also adding there that this is the next generation of air dominance, he says. Nick.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.